Charana Ravinda Bhakti-yoga Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Skonsamsta Prakacharya Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Sri Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Hari Das Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gaura. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashatyadesha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Shivasati Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 The reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 87, the prayers by the personified Vedas, text 35. Translation, purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Okay. Bhuvi puru punya tirtha saranani rishayo vimadas.
Bhuvi Pura Punya Tirtha Saranani Rishayo Vimadas.
Bhuvi puru punya tirtha saranani rishayo vimadas.
Bhuvi Pura Punya Tirtha Saranani Rishayo Vimadas.
Tauta bhavat padambu jaridoga bit angri jala.
Tauta Bhava Bujarido Hakrit Angri Jala.
Dadati sakrin manastvaiya atmani nitya sukhe.
Dadati Sakrim Manastvaya Atmani Nitya Sukhe.
Na punarupasate purusha sarahara vasathan.
Namunavasasate Purusha Sarahara Vasathan.
Bhuvi pura punya tirtha saranani rishayo vimadas.
Bhuvi Puru Punya Tirtha Saranani Rishayo Vimadas.
Tauta bhavat padambu jaridogha bid angri jala.
Tauta Bhavat Madam Bujarido Kapit Angri Jala.
Darati sakrin manastvaiya atmani nitya sukhe.
Dadati Sakrim Manastvaya Atmani Nitya Sukhe.
Na punarupasate purusha sarahara vasathan.
Namunarupasate Purusha Sarahara Vasathan.
Bhuvi pura punya tirtha sadananya rishayo vimadas.
Bhuvi Puru Punya Tirtha Saranani Rishayo Vimadas.
Tauta bhavat padambu jaridogha bid angri jala.
Tauta Bhavat Padam Bujarido Kapit Angri Jala.
Dharati sakrin manastvaiya atmani nitya sukhe.
Dadati Sakrim Manastvaya Atmani Nitya Sukhe.
Na punarupasate purusha sarahara vasathan.
Namunarupasate Purusha Sarahara Vasathan.
Bhuvi, on the earth,
На земята
puru, greatly,
много
punya, pious, tirtha, places of pilgrimage,
места за поклонение.
saranani,
Саданани,
and personal abodes of the Supreme Lord,
лични жилища на Върховния Бог.
rishayaha,
Решая,
sages,
мъдреци,
vimadaha,
вивада,
free from false pride,
свободни от фалшива гордост.
te, they,
Те,
Uta, indeed,
наистина,
Bhavat,
Бхава,
your,
твой,
Pada,
Ана,
feet,
Юзе,
Ambuja,
Амбуджа,
lotus,
Лотос,
Hridaya,
Хрдая,
in whose hearts,
чието сърца,
Agha,
Агха,
sins,
грехове,
Bhit,
Бхит,
which destroys,
които унищожават,
Angri,
Ангри,
having bathed whose feet,
изкъпали, чието нозе,
Jala,
Джала,
the water,
вода,
Darati,
Ати,
turn,
връща,
Sakrit,
Сакрит,
even once,
заведнъж,
Manaha,
Ана,
their minds,
техните умове,
Tvai,
пари,
toward you,
към теб,
Ye, who,
кой,
Atmani,
Атмани,
toward the Supreme Soul,
към върховната душа,
Nitya,
и тя
always,
винаги,
Sukhe,
Сухе,
who is happy,
който е щастлив,
Napunaha,
Напона,
never again,
никога отново,
Upasate, they worship,
те обожават,
Purusha,
душа
of a man,
на човека,
Sara,
Сара,
the essential qualities,
същностните качества,
Hara,
Хара,
which steal away,
които открадват,
Avasathan,
Абасатхан,
their mundane homes.
техните светски жилища.
Translation. Sages, free from false pride, live on this earth by frequenting the sacred pilgrimage sites and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Because such devotees keep your lotus feet within their hearts, the water that washes their feet destroys all sins. Anyone who even once turns his mind toward you, the ever blissful soul of all existence, no longer dedicates himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities.
Мъдреците, освободени от фалшива гордост, живеят на тази земя, като често посещават святите места за поклонение и тези места, където Върховният Бог е проявил своите задължения. Тъй като такива предани държат твоите лотосови нозе в сърцата си, водата, която измива техните нозе, унищожава всички грехове. Всеки, който дори веднъж обърне ума си към теб, вечно блажение от душа на цялото съществуване, никога повече не се отдава да служи на семейството в къщи, което просто ограбва човек от добрите му качества.
Purport. The qualification of an aspiring sage is that he has learned about the absolute truth from standard authorities and developed a sober mood of renunciation.
Качеството на един мъдрец, този, който се опитва да стане мъдрец, е, че той се е научил абсолютната истина от стандартните авторитети и е развил трезвото настроение на отречение.
To develop his capacity for discriminating the important from the unimportant, such a person often wanders from one holy site to another, taking advantage of the association of great souls who frequent or reside in these places.
За да разви своя капацитет, за да различи важното от несъщественото, такава личност често пътува от едно свято място на друго, като се възползва от общуването на велики души, които посещават често и живеят на тези места.
If in the course of his travels the aspiring sage can begin to realize the Supreme Lord's lotus feet in the core of his heart, he will be released from the illusion of false ego and from the painful bondage of lust, envy, and greed.
Ако по време на пътуванията му начинаещия мъдрец може да започне да осъзнава лотосовото нозе на Бога в сърцето си, той ще бъде освободен от илюзията на фалшиво его и от болезнената обвързаност на похота, завистта и алчността.
Though he may still go to places of pilgrimage to bathe away his sins, the now purified sage has the power to sanctify others with the water that washes his feet and with the realized instructions he imparts.
Макар той все още да ходи на места за поклонение, за да измие своите грехове, сега пречистването на грец има силата да освети другите с водата, която измива нозете му и с реализираните наставления, които той дава.
Such a sage is described by the Mundaka Upanishad 2.2.9. Vidyate hridaya grantish chidyanti sarva sangshayaha kshiyante chasma karmani tasmin drishte paravare. The knot in the heart is pierced, all misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the Supreme Lord everywhere within all superior and inferior beings.
Възел в сърцето е разсечен и всички съмнения са связани на причета и така веригата на плодоносни дейности е прекъсната, когато човек види върховният навсякъде във всички висши и нисши същества.
To sages who have reached this stage, the Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.11 thus pays homage. Nama Paramarshibhya, Nama Paramarshibhya. Obeisances to the topmost sages, obeisances to the topmost sages.
Но мъдреците, които са достигнали това ниво, Мундака Упанишад отправя следната молитва: Нама Парамаршибхя, Нама Парамаршибхя, почитание на най-висшите мъдреци, почитание на най-висшите мъдреци.
Putting aside the affectionate company of wives, children, friends, and followers, saintly Vaishnavas travel to the holy Dhammas, where the Supreme Lord's worship can be most successfully prosecuted. Places such as Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Jagannath Puri, or anywhere else where sincere devotees of Lord Vishnu congregate.
Оставяйте настрани обичаната общуване и компания на своите деца, съпруга, приятели, последователи, светите вайшнави пътуват по светите места, дхами, където обожанието на Върховния Бог може да бъде най-успешно извършено. Места като Вриндаван, Майапур, Джаганат Пури или навсякъде други, където исканите предани от Вишну се събират.
Even those Vaishnavas who have not taken sannyas and still live at home or in their guru's ashram, but who have once tasted just a drop of the sublime pleasure of devotional service, will also have little inclination to meditate on the pleasures of a materialistic family life, which robs a person of his discretion, determination, sobriety, tolerance, and peace of mind.
Дори тези вайшнави, които не са приели саньяси, все още живеят или в ашрама на техния гуру, но които веднъж са посетили капчица от висшето удоволствие на преданото служене, също ще имат малка склонност да медитират върху удоволствието на материалистичния семейен живот, който отнема на личността неговата разграничителна способност, решителност, резултат, търпение и удовлетворение.
Srila Swami prays. Yes. No? You said that? No. Okay. Munchan angatat angasangam anisham tvam eva sanchan chintayan santak santi yato yato gata madastan ashraman avasan nityam tanmukha pankajat vigalita tvat punya gathamrita Shrota samplava sampluto narahare nasyamaham deha brit. My dear Lord, when I will give up all sense gratification and engage incessantly in meditating upon you, And I will take up residence in the hermitages of saintly devotees free from false pride. Then I will become fully immersed in the inundation of nectar pouring from the devotees' lotus mouths as they chant sacred narrations about you. And then, O Lord Narahari, I will never again have to take a material body.
Мои скъпи Господи, кога ще изоставя сетивното наслаждение и ще се взея постоянно в медитация върху Теб? И кога аз ще започна да живея в ашрамите и ученическите обители на святите личности, освободена от фалшива гордост, тогава аз ще съм способен напълно да се потопя в нектарния океан, който се излива от своите уста на преданите, докато те възпяват святите разкази за Теб. И тогава, о Бог Нарахари, аз никога отново няма да приемам материално тяло.
Bhuvi puru punya tirtha sadanani prishayom vimadas tauta bhavat padamujaridoga bid angri jalan dharati sakrin manastvaiya atmani nitya sukhe na punarubhasate purusha sara haravasatan. Sages free from false pride live on this earth by frequenting the sacred pilgrimage sites and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Because such devotees keep your lotus feet within their hearts, the water that washes their feet destroys all sins. Anyone who even once turns his mind toward you, the ever-blissful soul of all existence, no longer dedicates himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities.
Мъдреците, освободени от фалшива гордост, живеят на тази земя, като посещават често местата за поклонение, святите места за поклонение и тези места, където Върховният Бог е проявил своите забавления. Тъй като тези предани държат от своите нозе в сърцата си, водата, която изсъна от нозете им разрушава всички грехове. Всеки, който дори веднъж насочи ума си към Теб, съдържаната душа на всичко съществуващо, никога повече не се отдава на служене на своето семейство, дома си, което просто убива човека от неговите, ограбва човек от добрите му качества.
So, as Sridhar Swami says at the end, if one comes to this stage of consciousness, then one will never again has to take a material body.
Както каза накрая, Шридхар Свами, ако човек достигне този етап или това ниво на съзнанието, повече няма нужда да се ражда.
Which includes, as he says, to give up all desires for sense gratification, incessantly meditating on you, living in a holy place, and being in the company of devotees who chant the glories of the Lord.
Което включва човек да изостави желанието за сетивно наслаждение, постоянно да излезе в медитация върху Бога и да живее, където живеят святите предани, свободни от гордост.
So this can be done at any stage of life, actually.
Всъщност това може да се осъществи на всеки етап от живота.
As Prahlad Maharaj tells his schoolmates, even you can do it, and they were young children, 5 years old.
Като Пралад Махарадж каза на своите съученици, които били малки деца на 5 години, дори и вие може да го направите.
This we'll find in the 7th canto, 6th chapter, text number 19, I think. where he says, "My dear sons of demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana is the original Supersoul, the father of all living entities. Consequently, there is no impediment to pleasing him or worshipping him under any condition, whether one be a child or an old man. The relationship between the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a fact, and therefore there is no difficulty in pleasing the Lord."
Мои скъпи синове на демоните, върховната божествена личност на Нараяна, изначалната свръхдуша, бащата на всички живи същества. Няма пречки да го удовлетворите, ако го обожавате при всякакви обстоятелства, независимо дали сте деца или възрастни. Връзката между живите същества и върховната личност винаги е реална и затова няма трудност в удовлетворението на Бога.
So in the purport we see Prabhupada says one may ask. One is certainly very attached to family life, but if one gives up family life to be attached to the service of the Lord, one must undergo the same endeavor and trouble.
Може да запитаме, човек е със сигурност привързан към семейния живот, но ако изостави семейния живот да се привърже към служенето на Бога, човек трябва да премине през същото усилие и трудности.
Therefore, what is the benefit of taking the trouble to engage in the service of the Lord?
Следователно, каква е ползата от приемането на трудностите, за да се служи на Бога?
This is not a valid objection. The Lord asserts in Bhagavad Gita 14.4.
Но това не може да се счита за правилно, за обструкция, валидна, и Богът казва в Бхагavad Gita 14.4.
Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahadyonya aham bija pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father.
Трябва да разберем, че всички същества на живота, сина на Кунти, да се родят с това материална природа, са се появили чрез раждане с материална природа и аз съм бащата, даващ семето.
The Supreme Lord, Narayana, is the seed-giving father of all living entities because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Mamai Vangsha Jiva Bhuta 15.7 of Bhagavad Gita.
Върховният Бог Нараяна е бащата, който дава семето на всички живи същества, тъй като живите същества са частици от Върховния Бог.
As there is no difficulty in establishing the intimate relationship between a father and son, there is no difficulty in re-establishing the natural intimate relationship between Narayana and the living entities.
Тъй като няма пречки в установяването на близките взаимоотношения между бащата и сина, така няма и трудности в установяването на естествената близка връзка между Нараяна и живите същества.
So, it's not taking so much trouble, actually.
Всъщност това не означава много трудности.
Therefore, yes, in any condition, one can start to practice devotional service.
Затова и в всяка ситуация, всяко състояние, човек може да започне да практикува правилно служение.
And in difference to the material world, even if one does not continue or come to the 100% result, still whatever one has achieved is a permanent asset.
И за разлика от материалния свят, ако човек не постигне 100% в напредъка си, това, което е успял, ще остане 100% негова заслуга и ще се остане за него постижение.
Yes, Nehavikrama Nashasti, Krishna says, it will not be destroyed and it will not become less. And Prabhupada now quotes here the second part of this verse, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vayat. If one performs even very slight amount of devotional service, Narayana is always ready to save one from the greatest danger.
Прабхупад цитира втората част от стиха тук. Ако някой извърши дори малко преданно служение, Нараяна винаги е готов да го спаси от най-голямата опасност.
The definite example is Ajamila.
Най-добрият пример е Аджамила.
So Ajamila separated himself from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing many sinful activities and was condemned by Yamaraj to be very severely punished.
Аджамила се разделил с върховната божествена личност, като извършил много греховни дейности и бил обречен от Ямараджа, за да бъде много сурово наказан. Но по времето на книга на смъртта той повтори името на Нараяна.
So that may happen. One separates himself by his consciousness, although one is part and parcel and eternally related, as is pointed out in this verse by Prahlad. But one can separate himself consciously.
Това може да се случи, ние може да се разделим от Бога със съзнанието си, макар че, както Пралад каза тук, ние сме вечно свързани с Нараяна и може да решим да се отделим от съзнанието си.
So that may happen not only for some years, like in the case of Ajamil, we hear in youth he was practicing spiritual life and then he became distracted.
Това може да се случи не само за някакви години, както са Аджамила, който в младостта си практикувал сериозно духовен живот, но после се е отклонил.
And then for, let's say, 60 years, 50-60 years, he was engaged in, yes, all kinds of not devotional at all, sinful activities.
И после продължение на 50-60 години той бил взет в греховни дейности.
And then, but because at the time of death he chanted the name of Narayana, although he was calling not the Supreme Lord Narayana, but for his son named Narayana, he was saved from the hands of Yamaraj.
Но, понеже в книга на смъртта си той повторил името на Нараяна, макар той да не викал Бог Нараяна, но неговия син да рече Нараяна, той бил спасен от ръцете на Ямарадж.
So, in one of the purports, when this story is told, Srila Prabhupada quotes from one of the previous acharyas. Because one may wonder, well, he was calling his son, he didn't even think of Narayana, so why Narayana would respond? So the acharyas explain that although he was calling his son, but because he had named his son Narayana, when he was calling him, and by the grace of the Lord in the heart, he was remembering the Narayana from his when he was young and he was worshipping. Which means the Lord never forgets any slight amount of devotional service one may have performed. And then at that crucial time when the Yamadutas were appearing, then he gave remembrance from within the heart. And immediately Narayana responded by sending his messengers. And they are more powerful than the Yamadutas. So they practically said, stop, you cannot go further here. So he was saved. And therefore Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, pleasing Narayana does not require as much endeavor as pleasing one's family, community, and nation. We have seen important political leaders killed for a slight discrepancy in their behavior. Therefore, pleasing one's society, family, community, and nation is extremely difficult.
Затова удовлетворяването на своето общество, семейство, общност и нация е изключително трудно.
Pleasing Narayana, however, is not at all difficult. It is very easy.
Удовлетворяването на Нарайана обаче изобщо не е трудно, много е лесно.
Yes, this is always coming up. It always refers either to Gandhi or to Kennedy, both very famous in their time, and they were killed by their own countrymen.
И пак съм обикновено дал пример с Ганди или Кенеди, които са били много известни. В времето си са били убити от собствените си сънародници.
And of course, this is happening all the time. Now we have a coup in Myanmar, earlier Birmania. You know, the government, the military comes in, just takes out the government, and you know, so they're not killed yet, or not killed, but this may happen anytime. People are displeased, so they do something. Yes, or in the past, before that, then you have big kings sitting on a throne in Versailles, and then people come and just drag you out and put your head under a guillotine and cut it off. How many times does it happen? Then people become angry and revolt, and they take the leader or whoever and just drag him out and hang him or whatever, just get rid of him. So Krishna doesn't do that. Generally, he doesn't just kill you if you're not pleasing him. You must be trying to harm a devotee, then he interferes. Like Hiranyakashipu, when it is said that one can tolerate the sun on his head, the heat of the sun on your head you can tolerate. No. We have the example of Hiranyakashipu. So a demon may insult the Lord and blaspheme and be against him, but you know, who cares? Krishna doesn't really care. It's like heat on the head, one can tolerate. But heat under the feet, that's intolerable. So the devotees are under the lotus feet of the Lord. So when Hiranyakashipu started to persecute Prahlad Maharaj, then the Lord became angry. The same with Ambarish Maharaj. Immediately Sudarshan Chakra appeared to chastise. He killed the demon immediately and then chastised Durvasa Muni, persecuting him. So, Narayana is very easily pleased, and if one displeases him, then he makes just arrangements to fulfill your material desires. You can forget him, but he doesn't kill you like countrymen may do. Ajamil, he separated himself. He didn't want to continue with his worship and his, you could say, his Krishna consciousness. So Krishna let him go and enjoy so-called life. And then at the end, very easily got him back.
И това се случило с Джамила. Той пожелал да се отдели от Бога и той го оставил да се опитва да се наслаждава на материалния живот, но накрая го върнал пак.
So, Prabhupada continues, one's duty is to revive one's relationship with Narayana.
Прабхупада продължава коментара, затова дългът на човек е да възстанови своята връзка с Нараяна.
So one may ask, why is it my duty? I don't want to have a relationship with Narayana.
Човек може да каже, защо това да ми е дълг? Аз не искам да имам взаимоотношения с Нараяна.
Well, we could translate, in this case, also duty as dharma. Occupational duty is sometimes the translation of dharma.
Тук може да преведем думата дълг като дharma, защото предписаният дълг е свързан с дharma.
So we have the kshatriya dharma. That's the duty of the kshatriya is to protect, and the brahmana dharma, and like that.
Както дългът на един кшатрия е да закриля и на брамана прислуга.
So these kinds of duties are called temporary naimitika dharmas, which may change and they're not really so important.
Но тези задължения са временни, наречени наимитика, и те се променят и не са толкова важни.
But there's a sanatana dharma, which is like part of the soul, and therefore you can try to forget it, but it's never going away.
И санатана дharma, това вече е дълг на душата и може да се опита да го забрави, но никога то няма да се отиде.
So therefore, in one sense, because it's part of one's nature, there is a natural duty to be conscious of it, to live it, to revive it, if it's almost dead.
И затова е естественият дълг всъщност да се опитаме да го живеем, да го събудим, дори да е почти мъртв.
Not really dead, unconscious. Reviving means there's still some life, but it's so feeble that you don't even see it. It's like a dead body lying there, but it's just unconsciousness. Or deep sleep. Deep sleep looks like dead body. No movement, no nothing, no sign of life. But it can be revived. Generally, for example, deep sleep by sound. You can wake somebody up. So, spiritual life is a little Jiva Jago. It's a famous song we could think about in next time. Wake up, Jago. You're sleeping on the lap of Maya. That's the theme.
Така е тази песен, Jiva Jago, темата е да се събудим от скутата Мая.
Yes, it's your duty to revive your relationship with the Lord. So therefore then, Prabhupada continues, a slight endeavor in this direction will make the attempt successful, that's in the purport, whereas one will never be successful in pleasing his so-called family, society, and nation, even if one endeavors to sacrifice his life.
Дори малко усилия в тази посока ще донесе успех, докато човек никога няма да постигне успех в опитите си да удовлетвори така нареченото семейство, общество и нация, дори ако усилията му, ако продължава да полага усилия цял живот.
So this sounds pretty extreme. And some may not even agree. One may say, well, my family is very much pleased with me. Maybe for some time. Or the nation, somebody is very much celebrated as a great leader, the best we had in so far, the best president we have. Sometimes somebody is called the worst president we ever had.
водач, най-известният лидер или пък най-печалният, най-известният.
But there's always some criticism from somebody. Not everybody is pleased, for sure.
Винаги има някаква критика и никога всички не са удовлетворени.
Like this famous saying, you can please some of the people all of the time.
Както е известната поговорка, може да удовлетворите някои от хората през цялото.
And you can please all of the people some of the time.
И може да удовлетворите всички хора за известно време.
But you cannot please all the people all of the time.
Но не може да удовлетворите всички хора през цялото време.
That's the material world.
Това е материалният свят.
And just like Prabhupada says here, even one endeavors to sacrifice his life, like Gandhi is the example, he so much austerity to get Swaraj, to liberate India from the British rule. He even went to jail, and he says, jail Swaraj. You know, jail means independence and whatever he thought.
Ганди, както е жертва толкова много за да постигне независимостта на Индия, дори е влязъл в затвора и казал, затвора е независимост.
Yeah, and he's still celebrated. Mahatma, he was called a great soul, although from scriptural definition, not really.
И защото е считан за Махатма от светска гледна точка, за велика душа, но не е от гледна точка на щастие.
Then there are statues all over India. Wherever you go, there is somewhere a statue of Mahatma Gandhi.
Има негови статуи навсякъде в Индия, където отидете ще ги.
And his head is on the bills of the money since all the time. It will always be, as long as Bharat, India exists, Mahatma Gandhi's head will be on the banknotes.
На банкнотите е неговият лик и докато има Индия ще продължава да.
You can even call him the father of the modern India after 1947.
След 47 годината може да бъде наречен бащата на съвременния Индия.
So many people were pleased,
Много изключително доволни.
but not all of them.
Но не всички.
And someone just shot him and he was dead.
Един от тях просто го застрелял.
So, the simple endeavor involved in the devotional service of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord can make one successful in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Простото усилие в преданото служение на Шравана, Киртана, Вишну, слушането, възпяването на святото име на Бога, може да донесе успех в удовлетворението на върховната божествена личност.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore bestowed his blessings by saying, Parang Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, all glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. If one wants to derive the actual benefit from this human form, he must take to the chanting of the holy name of the Lord.
Шри Чайтания Махапрабху за това е да дава своите благослови, като казва Парам Вижайте Шри Кришна Санкиртан, слава на Шри Кришна Санкиртан. Ако човек желая да извлече действителната полза от човешката форма, трябва да приеме постоянно повтарянето на святото име и трябва да се заеме с повтарянето на святото име на Бога.
So, this is very important. It's a simple endeavor. How much endeavor is there in hearing and chanting?
Много е важно това. Прабхупад казва тук просто усилие. Колко много усилие ни трябва да слушаме и повтаряме.
But as it is said here, just that can make one successful in pleasing the Lord.
И тук се казва, само това ще може да направи възможно да постигне успех в удовлетворяването на Бога.
And Ajamil was not chanting 16 rounds.
Ajamil не е повтарял 16.
He wasn't even chanting anything regularly, just calling his son probably every day in one sense. So, of course, that's a very special case, and we shouldn't now rationalize, so that means I don't have to practice regularly. I just, remember at the end of I have to have a son, of course. If you don't have a son, you already have a problem. But that's not a good idea. So that's cheating mentality. That is not accepted. So in the case of Ajami, what is pointed out is that he chanted without offense. He didn't make this calculation that I know I've been sinful and I liked it, and now I will just chant one time, the Narayan name, and I'm saved. That's a very serious offense. To chant hoping that the strength, the power of the holy name will save me. But anyway, so one shouldn't have that mentality. So then a simple endeavor of hearing and chanting regularly, that can make one's life definitely successful. And it's backed up by a very powerful blessing by the Lord Himself. So, what's the problem? What's the loss? What is the difficulty? So we should, as Prabhupada says, we should take advantage of this offer and blessing and just dedicate oneself to chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord. Comments or questions? It is very. He talks to his schoolmates who are 5-year-old boys, not really interested even. So, what's the difficulty?
The difficulty seems to be to simply hear. We can vibrate the name,
yes,
but it's not so simple. It seems to hear.
So therefore, you have to chant regularly.
Просто да се повтарят имената, но не толкова просто да си слушат имената, да се повтарят затова повтаряме редовно.
So there may be offensive chanting.
Може да има оскърбително мътуване.
But if one regularly chants, there's a hope that once in a while there's namabhasa.
Но ако ние редовно повтаряме имената, има шанс понякога да повтаряме намабхаса.
And that is also a benefit that doesn't go away. It's a permanent asset. So one continues chanting, namabhasa will, the bank balance will increase, and then, it will become more and more easier. And of course, one should make some arrangements and avoid certain circumstances to facilitate attentive chanting. You don't go in the busiest shopping street of the city chanting and looking at all the shop windows, especially the smartphone windows. Or while chanting, you watch the news or something like that. So, or anything that could distract the different senses, so one should be careful. So generally, it's advised to do this early in the morning when the world is still asleep. And you shouldn't be asleep anymore. And also, don't just, maybe if it's not easy, sit and close your eyes and chant, then sooner or later you may drift away again into unconsciousness. We have seen this, so therefore one should be careful. If that is the case, then maybe keep walking. Something like that. And then, yes, don't have any distractions. And just listen. Mind goes away. Okay, you take it back. You may have to take out the broomstick and give it 100 beatings, maybe, necessary. I mean, it's like a dog, you know, or like a little... a little human being. When they're really small, they're like that. You know, they just crawl away, and then you have to grab them. So the mind is exactly like this. You're going away. You have to grab it and shut up. Listen. For some time, and then goes away. And take it back. Yeah, it's like an animal. I mean, that's in the Bhagavatam. I'm not speculating. Huh? So therefore it says the yogi doesn't have much faith in the mind. Like you don't trust that, you know, you have this dog and it will sit there, it will not do anything. No. As soon as it will run away. So he never trusts the mind. It has to be under control. So then, little by little, doing all that, then the mind will become a little more obedient and becomes a friend. That's what Krishna says, should be a friend. So, when Arjuna told him that the mind is like impossible to control, like the wind, Krishna, what did he say? Yes, you're right. But it's possible. Avyasa yuktena, by practice and detachment, then, you know, little by little it can be done. So, it's not impossible, it's difficult, yes, but it's not impossible. But even Krishna tells me, yes, I agree. Sorry, I created this, but that's just the nature of it. So you have to tolerate and deal with. But it can be done. I'm giving you the way how to do it. Like false ego, one may complain. What can I do? You wanted it, so I created it. Here you have it, but now you have to get rid of it. Yeah, sometimes it's an argument. Looks like an intelligent argument. Like we talk about tapasya, one shouldn't do certain things. And one will argue, but this is natural. You're suppressing a natural urge, so that is artificial. Yeah, the natural urge is to die. I mean, it's very natural to become diseased and to die, and so all these things, natural, yes, but why are they so-called natural? Because you had your desires, and Krishna is just giving you the facilities. It doesn't mean it's good.
Естествено е, защо? Защото Кришна е видял желанието и е създал условията. Това не означава, че е добро.
Material life, I know, but so what? It's natural. No, it's not natural.
Това е материална живот. Какво да направи? Естествено е така. Не е естествено.
You have it because you wanted it, and was the wrong desire.
Получил си го, защото си го искал, имал си грешното желание.
I mean, anyway. So one could go on and on that theme, but if you think about it, yes, they're so, like children, they want so many things, it's not good. So the parents who are responsible, they will not necessarily give something.
Както децата, те искат толкова много неща, но ако родителите видят, че нещо не е добро, те няма да го дадат.
So in the case of the living entity, Krishna gives, but he simultaneously also then later gives us warnings and instructions of that this was not such a good idea.
И в случай, в който същество Кришна удовлетворява желанието, но по-късно той се погрижва, дава, предупреждава го, изпраща знания и така нататък, и за да разбере, че това е било добра идея и добър избор.
So anyway, yes, difficult but possible.
Но трудно е, все пак възможно.
Okay. Stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gandhra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sisi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.